I'm Ryan Alexander, and I am the founder of Ryan Alexander Creative Studio, based out of Denver and Los Angeles. I think in the creative marketing industry, we're often faced with the dilemma of defining proper promotion for a product or brand and really figuring out what that means. And sometimes that can be as simple as deciding if a brand that's reached out to us has a product or message that aligns with our studio's values, and that it's something that we want to promote. Or it can be the kind of situation where a client is trying to get you to promote inaccurate facts or messaging about their brand that are not necessarily true. So both of these, I think, are huge dilemmas that we have faced that have really changed our process on how we work with our clients. One situation that comes to mind first is a campaign that we did with a client who wanted to promote their product sales model. So, for example, for every product that this client had sold, they would provide another item to a charity or organization, something that aligned with their mission. So, we had been tasked to put together a marketing campaign that essentially highlighted their sales numbers and the number of items, these items that they had been giving back to these other organizations. And during some of our creative briefs, we got a lot of feedback like, oh, 2 million sounds so much better than 1.2 million, or whatever the number it is that we were using. Let's go with that instead. And that was kind of an immediate red flag to make sure that we were protecting everyone by putting the right messaging on these campaigns. And I mean, these campaigns were going in Times Square, they were going in major magazines, publications, all over the internet. I mean, this thing was going to be everywhere. So this would have made any exaggeration extremely public, and would have definitely put our studio's values and brand on the line as well. I remember walking away from that meeting knowing that if we continued to use the content that this client was providing us, it would basically turn into a huge press nightmare and just blow up in everyone's face. Even though it's something that, on the creative side, at our studio, we're more protected since we're the ones being provided these numbers and information by the client. But there's just something wrong about knowing that the information isn't accurate and being a part in publishing that, no matter what part you play. And then there's also the opportunity for the client to turn around on us and say, oh, that was an error that the studio made that we hired. So, since we didn't want to lose our account with this client either, we essentially had to figure out a way to say no without actually saying no. This was something that was really putting our studio's integrity on the line, and also a chance to lose the trust and respect of our client by addressing this kind of issue with them and basically saying, hey, you're wrong, we can't do this, this isn't right. So it was definitely a little uncomfortable while we tried to figure out how to handle it and what we were going to do. We also had to think about, well, if we continue to use these inflated numbers, how would that affect this client's trust and respect for us, by being so easily manipulated to kind of put these alternative facts out there. So yeah, there were a lot of different variables that we had to kind of consider and figure out what to do with. There's a very fine line between fluffing up a brand and blatantly lying. So we really had to think about which path to take and how to keep our studio standards in place, all while making this client happy too. When we were looking at these numbers, we realized that it was almost silly that we were even thinking about making them up, because the numbers were actually really good once we thought about each one of those additional items that they were donating to these organizations, and how it was impacting the environment and communities around the world. And so we realized that we needed to show that more, and show the message behind these numbers rather than just putting that one number up on this ad. And we ultimately created an entirely different campaign, completely scratched everything we were looking at before. And in this new campaign, we showed a few of the locations where this brand was contributing, and just kind of let that contribution itself do the speaking for the ad instead. And then the real number next to it seems so much larger than when you had just experienced how a single one of those products changed someone's life. Looking back, I think there definitely could have been room for more conversation regarding messaging and fact checking before the client even gave us any numbers to begin with, or even just asking what kind of documentation they might have had in the very beginning with these numbers on it for the purpose of getting correct verbiage or content for copy. But also as a way to verify the actual numbers, kind of a different way of getting the facts from them. So I think that ultimately it's really just asking as many questions in the beginning as you can, and getting as much information as possible from the start. And you really have to figure out a way to ask these questions in a non-intrusive way to make sure that your facts are correct.